Hi everyone, finally I've got the Thok Gram RC on my trails so I can test it properly. For those of you who don't know about this bike, it's a carbon framed Shimano EP8 motor, 630 watt hour Shimano battery, Fox 38 suspension on the front, Crank Brothers wheels. We did an unboxing about this last week. It's got the SRAM drivetrain on it. We got XT brakes. It's a complete carbon frame bike, Enduro setup, designed for up and down trails. So today is our test day. We're going to take it out on a couple of main trails that I know really well so I can get a real feel for this bike and tell you what it's really like. Okay, it's a beautiful day for riding. I mean, look at the weather. Fantastic. Okay, first thing I note here is the electronic shifting from SRAM. Absolutely brilliant. Love it. Quick, fast shifts, no stress. So there's a lot of mud. This bike though is pretty good on mud. One of the things I noted the other day when I did a quick ride with it was how good it was on tech uphill. So we'll take this line, but then we're going to go through the middle of it. And this bike should feel very capable. It does. The motor's powerful. Flies straight over it, over the techie rock. This is the bike. Let's talk about the electrical system. So it's got an 85 Newton meter motor with 250 watts and a 630 watt hour battery. The power switch is handily located under here, so it gets out of the way of the mud, doesn't spoil the top tube, and you've got a display here. The remote is on the left, and it's the standard Shimano remote, which I really like, and I think it's one of the best remotes out there. Very robust, never broken one. You can also tune this bike on the app, Shimano app, and you can razz up the motor as you like. Bikes on this trail, so I can tell you how the bike feels compared to other bikes. This one flies. Way, it's fun. Balanced. That's the best thing about it. It's very balanced. Whoa, it's a bit muddy today. Needs to dry out a bit, but it's nice. Yeah, it definitely feels like an enduro bike. Slippery today, but the tyres are pretty good actually. Sughara. Little jump here. Pops. Big drop here. Aggressive. Very compact feel on the trail. Very compact feel on the trail. Let's get to the next trail. Ready? Boom. So this is a Sughara. It's a very techie enduro steep trail. Rocky, wet, roots, everything on here. It's very slippery. Okay, so this is techie, but I've done it the other day, so I can remember it. It's going to be slippery today. It's a beautiful view though. It's been cleaned, so that's scary. But this bike is good. It feels very stable, tracks really well there. That's slippery with no trouble. It's very sketchy today. For goodness sake. Okay, wet, muddy rocks are not the best thing for testing extreme, smoothly, but at the end of the day, this is an enduro bike and it's going to be ridden on the difficult terrain. It feels very nimble. So, okay, there's a bit of a climb here, so let's see how this goes. pretty good. Keeps moving, doesn't stop. The geometry, fantastic for this varied terrain. It's been an amazing jump there, and now it's gone. Whew. It's a nice rocky tech. This is tough, but the bike is good. It's not too long, flies forward. I like it. Base feels like it's designed for tech. You can really move it. Find your perfect line. This is the end of the trail. Now the tech bit is this way. Whew. Yes, that's difficult, and it just did it really well. So I'm glad I finally got to test this, the Thok RC Gram, or the Gram RC, which means race. It is an enduro electric carbon race bike. It's absolutely fantastic bike. I just want to start off there with that. It's very difficult to find a bike which is technically good uphill and downhill, and this thing is good uphill and downhill. Probably one of the most technically balanced electric mountain bikes I've tested that goes equally up as well as it does down. Some go really amazingly well downhill, and uphill they're very good. But this balances almost perfectly, and that's really surprising. I've never really had a bike on test that feels as fast up and down as this. This thing doesn't stop. Those pedal inputs feel very, very positive as it just skips over all the little rocks and holes and just keeps moving forward. And that's especially when it gets steep, slippery and wet like today. When it comes to the downhill, this thing is actually very fast, but it's not straight line fast. If you've got very technical terrain, it's the kind of bike that you'd be very happy having, because you can just thread your way through anything. And I also noticed on some rocky step downs that this thing, because it's not super long like some of the other enduro bikes I've tested recently, it's long enough, but it actually copes with them very well. You feel like the geometries, you don't get thrown over the front as you come down. It feels awkward. I mean, okay, some of it's line choice, but fundamentally I was impressed. I did a very technical descent section there that normally is a real test of how balanced the bike is, and this one passed it with absolutely flying colours. Suspension wise, I found this bike very progressive. The 38 Fox on the front is actually a really good choice. It basically balances the smoothness with progressivity. On the rear we've got the Floatex C2, but obviously the rear shock alone doesn't do everything. It's also the suspension system. This thing feels very reactive. If you hit a big jump, it does ramp up towards the end. You don't feel like you have a bottom out. And I was actually very pleasantly surprised by that. The rear wheel, yes, adds some maneuverability with a 27.5 inch and speed of response in tight corners, especially on any banked corner you want to fly around it. This thing is quick into corners and quick out. Fast, quick mountain bike. It's really great for technical twisty trails that are very up and down. If you're just going long steep descents with no brakes, I might say this is not the best bike. But for the sort of terrain that I'm talking about, which is, I would say, for anyone who's into enduro riding and technical enduro riding, which is like 90% of the terrain out there for that kind of riding, this bike is absolutely fantastic and one of my favorites so far for that kind of riding. It's definitely up there with the Canyon Strive On when it comes to quality of maneuverability on the trail, but this thing feels a little bit more balanced up and downhill, whereas the Canyon Strive On feels a little bit better on just the downhill, but it loses a tad on the uphill compared to this. Price wise, this comes in at around 9,000 to 10,000 euros, quite expensive, but definitely worth it if you want a high quality, technically performing e-bike. Hopefully you enjoyed this test. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.